Okay, so this is a social studies lesson, and it's basically talking about summarizing ideas. So the directions say to many GED questions, you must be able to recognize a summary or a brief statement of the most important parts of the passage. A summary includes the central idea and major supporting details. So keep that in mind. The summary is brief and it has two things: central idea and major supporting details. So let me read this Selective Service Act passage to you guys. After the United States declared war on Germany in 1817, thousands of men voluntarily enlisted in the armed forces. Still, most World War I servicemen were drafted under the terms of the first Selective Service Act, passed in June 1917. Under the terms of the Act, all the men between the ages of 21 and 30 were required to register and undergo a physical and mental examination. Those who were fit took part in a lottery to select draftees. As the need for soldiers grew, a second Selective Service Act was passed in 1918. This law extended the registration to all men aged 18 to 45. By the end of World War I, about 4,700,000 men were in the military. Of these, more than 2,800,000 had been drafted. Okay, so before we even start, this is my suggestion to you. Think about the passage. Look at the title. The title is the Selective Service Act. So the central idea is describing the Essential Selective Service Act. And then the details include how it was first implemented. That's not going to fit. We'll just do first used. Okay, so question 1 says, to whom did the 1917 Selective Service Act apply? So here is June 1917, and here's the terms. It says all men between the ages of 21 and 30 were required to register. So that would be C, men aged 21 to 30. This question is asking for information about the Service Act, okay? So we went ahead and just looked, and that was a pretty straightforward answer. That wasn't really a thinking too deep question. So number 2 says, which statement best summarizes the passage? So A says, more than half of the World War I soldiers were drafted under the 1917 and 1918 Selective Service Acts. B, servicemen were drafted during World War I only if they had certain characteristics. C, about 4,700,000 men served in the armed forces during World War I. Or D, men who registered for the draft had to show they were physically and mentally fit. So we said that the main idea was describing the Selective Service Act, and the details was how it was first used. So A is the answer because it tells us about the Selective Service Act and who was drafted. Gives us some of those details. Okay, so now let's apply this strategy to language arts and science texts. We're going to start with this left passage right here. I'm going to read it to you, and we're going to look at some questions. Okay, language arts test, informational workplace. Question 1 and 2 refer to this description of online courses. Students today do not have to be on a college campus to take classes, and boy, do we ever know that. They can go to school by taking online courses using computers linked to the internet. In an online course, instructors use a course website to post assignments and instructional materials such as text, images, video clips, and audio clips. Students log on to the website where they can view lectures and get their assignments. In addition, instructors and students conduct class discussions. Participants post questions or comments on an online bulletin board. Other students or the instructor can respond at their own convenience. When people need to communicate, they can meet in an online chat room or email one another. When a student needs to submit an assignment, he or she can send it to the instructor. Online courses offer convenience and flexibility to busy students because students can do coursework from any connected computer at any time of day or night. So it says, to take online courses, what equipment must a student have access to? Well, you know what, before we even go there, right here, the main idea of this passage is online classes, and it tells us about advantages, some advantages, and how-tos. So it's describing those online classes. So this one says, to take an online class, what equipment must a student have access to? Now this, I know you guys are going to look and think, oh my gosh, super easy, because we're all living this right now. A is a DVD player. B, computer connected to the internet. C, a textbook and assignments. And D, a digital camera and a scanner. And I have 1,000% certainty that you guys all know a computer connected to the internet, because right now you're either on your smartphone, a tablet, a computer, and you all have to have some type of internet or data connectivity. Number 2, what sentence best summarizes the passage? A, online courses allow students to work at any time and from almost any location. B, online courses are held on a course website. C, online courses are taught by traditional instructors. Or D, online courses allow students to email their homework to their instructions. So we want something very broad that tells us the whole summary of the whole passage. Looking at D, we're going to start with D. It says online courses allow students to email their homework instructors. And that's true. That's one part of it, but that's just one part of what the passage was about. C, online courses are taught by traditional instructors. And once again, that is a true fact, but that's just one small part of what this passage is about. Now look at B. Online courses are held on a course website. True, but once again, just one small part of this. Now let's go ahead and read A. It says, online courses allow students to work at any time and from almost any location. So this is our answer A, because it's telling us how it works and just giving us a very general, broad overview, not too specific. Remember, summaries are not super specific. You're not going to get really into the nitty-gritty of your passage. So let's look over here at this life sciences text. I'm trying to make it look nice. Okay, question 3 refers to this passage about a fishing method that threatens to destroy coral reefs. Where do the colorful saltwater tropical fish in pet stores come from? More than 85% have been caught in the coral reefs of Indonesia and the Philippines and Southeast Asia. Many fish collectors squirt cyanide, a fast-acting deadly poison, into the coral where the fish hide. The cyanide stuns the fish, making them easy to catch. Those that survive are sold. The practice of cyanide fishing kills many fish, and it also contributes to the destruction of the coral reefs. Since most tropical fish species cannot be raised in captivity, the aquarium trade depends on healthy coral reefs to support a large population of fish. To discourage cyanide fishing, the Marine Aquarium Council, an international group, is developing a method of ensuring the fish sold in pet stores are collected in an environmentally sound manner. Soon, certified fish will be available for pets in pet stores. So this is describing basically the practice of cyanide fishing. It says, A, colorful tropical fish live in coral reefs where they hide when hunted by fish collectors squirting cyanide into the water. B, in order to discourage the practice of cyanide fishing, which is harmful to fish in coral reefs in Southeast Asia, pet stores will label poison-free fish for consumers. C, most tropical fish species cannot be raised in captivity. Tropical fish owners depend on a supply of fish primarily from coral reefs filled with cyanide in Southeast Asia. D. When cyanide is squirted into the coral reefs where fish hide, the fish are stunned, making them easier for the fish collectors to catch. Ooh. Okay, now I'm going to start with C, because to me that's the most obvious to get rid of. Most tropical fish species cannot be raised in captivity. Tropical fish owners depend on a supply of fish primarily from coral reefs filled with cyanide in Southeast Asia. This part right here. Coral reefs filled with cyanide in Southeast Asia. Didn't even talk about the coral reefs naturally being filled with that, and that's what that implies. Now let's look at B. In order to discourage the practice of cyanide fishing, which is harmful to fish in coral reefs in Southeast Asia, pet stores will be labeled poison-free for consumers. And that's true, but once again, it's just a small little piece. So now we're down to A and D. Colorful tropical fish live in coral reefs where they hide when hunted by fish collectors squirting cyanide into the water. So that is true. They do. But once again, that's just like one little baby chunk of what this whole thing is. Now I'm going to read number D just to check out and make sure that we got this right. Okay. When cyanide is squirted into the coral reefs where fish hide, the fish are stunned, making them easy for fish collectors to catch. Oh, well, yeah, that describes the whole process. So, hold on, I'm taking a peek here. Our answer would be D.